I'm not trying to turn Christmas into a courtroom. I'm 33, married, Maya, 32, no kids yet. We bought our first house last year. Nothing fancy, just a small 3 bedroom in a suburb outside a mid-sized city. The kind of place with a postage stamp yard and a driveway that's too narrow, but it's ours. Jenna has had a rougher path, not in a train wreck way, more like life kept handing her slightly cracked cards. She's smart, but she bounces jobs. She's been in 2 relationships that were not great. She's the kind of person who can make friends in a line at Starbucks, but she's also the kind of person who will ignore a bill until the final notice feels personal. My parents worry about her constantly. When Jenna's car broke down, I helped cover the repair. When she had a month between apartments, she stayed on our couch for 3 weeks. When Dad needed help figuring out his new phone, I drove over and spent an hour showing him how to swipe up the right way. None of that felt like a burden at the time. It felt like being a family. And my parents have always had this way of turning help into a compliment. Mom would say, "You're such a good son," in this soft voice that made me feel like I was doing something holy. Dad would slap my shoulder and say, "That's my boy," and then ask if I could come by next weekend too. So I kept doing it. Maya is not cold or selfish, but she's more boundaries forward than my family is. Her parents are polite and distant and would rather die than ask to borrow your lawnmower. When Jenna stayed on our couch, Maya was patient, but I could tell it stressed her out. Jenna is loud. She talks on speakerphone. She leaves mugs half full of coffee in weird places. Maya would clean them up quietly, but her jaw would tighten. After Jenna left, Maya said very carefully, "I love your family, but I don't want our home to become the default solution for everyone's problems." I remember nodding like I understood and then immediately changing the subject. Because I did understand, in theory. I just didn't know how to apply it without feeling like I was betraying someone. 2 months ago, my mom called me on a Tuesday afternoon, which is unusual because she usually texts first. When I picked up, she sounded overly cheerful, like she was smiling too hard. "Hi, honey. Are you at work?" "Yeah. Everything okay?" "Oh, yes, yes. Everything's fine. Your dad and I just, we've been talking." That phrase, "we've been talking," made my stomach dip. "We've been talking about what we're going to do," she continued, and I could hear Dad in the background saying something like, "Tell him." I tried to keep my voice neutral. "Do about what?" There was a little pause, like she was lining up her words. "Well, you know the house is getting to be a lot. The stairs, the yard, your father's knee, and with prices the way they are, my mom does this thing where she uses a lot of ellipses when she's about to ask for something big." She said, "We were thinking it might be time to downsize." "Okay," I said slowly. "That makes sense. And maybe," she said, "we could stay with you for a bit while we figure out what's next." I looked at my calendar like it could save me. "For how long is a bit?" I asked. "Oh, not long," she said immediately. "Too fast. Just while we find the right place. The market is crazy. It's hard to know what we can afford. But we wouldn't be a bother, honey. We'd stay out of your way." In the background, Dad said, louder, "Tell him it's temporary." "It's temporary," Mom echoed. My brain started doing math I didn't want to do. Our house is 3 bedrooms. One is ours. One is Maya's office. She works from home most days. One is a small guest room that is currently a treadmill graveyard and a pile of unopened boxes from the move. Technically, 2 adults could stay here, but I could already feel the shape of it. My parents' stuff spreading, their routines taking over, Maya trying to smile through it, me stuck in the middle. "Can I talk to Maya about it?" I asked. Mom's cheerfulness dipped. "Of course," she said, but it came out like, "Why would you need to?" I said I'd call her back. When I hung up, I sat there staring at my computer screen and realized my hands were shaking a little. Not with anger, with this old familiar fear of disappointing someone. I texted Maya, "Can we talk tonight?" Mom called. She replied almost immediately, "Sure. Everything okay?" I typed, "They want to stay with us for a bit." There was a long pause, then, "Okay, we'll talk." That night, we sat at the kitchen table with the same intensity we usually reserve for doing taxes. Maya listened while I explained, and she didn't cut me off or roll her eyes. She just asked questions, calm and specific. "How long?" "I don't know." "Are they selling their house first?" "I think they want to." "Do they have savings? A plan?" "Mom said they need to see what they can afford." Maya exhaled through her nose. "So, no plan." I felt defensive on instinct. "They're not trying to be difficult." "I'm not saying they are," Maya said. "I'm saying this isn't a weekend visit. This is your parents moving in, and then we're stuck being the right place they never find." That hit too close to something I'd been refusing to name. We went back and forth for over an hour. Maya wasn't cruel. She wasn't like, "Absolutely not. Your parents are parasites." She said things like, "I want to help, but I need to feel like we have a choice. I don't want to resent you. I don't want to become the bad guy because I'm the only one saying what everyone else is thinking." In the end, we agreed on a compromise. We would offer a short, clearly defined time frame, and we would help them look for a rental or condo during that time. We would also be honest that Maya's office was non-negotiable. If my parents came, it would be the guest room, and that's it. I called my mom the next day. "Okay," I said, trying to sound confident, "we can do 6 weeks. But it has to be 6 weeks, and we'll help you find something during that time." Silence. Then Mom said, very softly, "6 weeks." Like I'd just told her she was allowed to breathe 6 times. Dad's voice came on the line, sharper. "6 weeks isn't enough time to find anything." "It's what we can offer," I said. Another silence. Mom said, "We'll talk about it." And then she hung up. Not rudely. Just ended it. Like the conversation was no longer cooperative. For the next few days, she barely texted. The group chat went quiet in that way that feels performative. Like everyone is waiting to see who flinches first. Then Jenna texted me privately. "So, I guess you're making Mom cry now?" I stared at my phone like it had slapped me. I wrote back. "What? I offered 6 weeks. That's not nothing." She replied, "They raised you. You wouldn't have anything without them." That sentence did something ugly inside me because it wasn't wrong and it also felt like a weapon. I didn't answer right away. A week later, my parents invited us over for Sunday dinner. The invitation came as a text from my mom. "Pot roast Sunday. Dad got your favorite rolls." That was her tactic. Act normal until you're trapped in person. Maya and I went because part of me still thought we could talk like adults and find a reasonable solution. When we got there, the house smelled like onions and that specific cleaning product my mom has always used. Everything looked the same. Family photos, the ceramic rooster collection I've always hated, the slightly crooked "Bless this home" sign. And yet the air felt different, tight, like someone had lowered the ceiling. Jenna was already there, sitting at the kitchen island scrolling on her phone, not looking up when we walked in. Mom hugged me a little too hard. She hugged Maya too, but it was brief and stiff. Dad did the hay nod and went back to pouring iced tea like he was a man with no conflicts, only beverages. We sat at the table, and for 10 minutes everyone talked about harmless things. Weather, a neighbor's new dog, a show my parents are watching. Then Dad put his fork down and said, "So." The word landed heavy. Mom immediately started fussing with the napkins like she could fold tension into something neat. Dad looked at me. "We've been thinking." Maya's hand found my knee under the table, a small anchor. Dad said, 6 weeks is unrealistic." "I understand it's not ideal," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "But it's what we can do. Maya works from home. We need—" Jenna finally looked up. "Oh my God, are we doing the office thing again?" Maya's posture stiffened. She said evenly, "It's not a thing. It's my job." Jenna did this little laugh that wasn't funny. "Right. Your job. Meanwhile, mom can barely go up the stairs in this house, and you're worried about your Zoom calls. I felt heat in my face. That's not fair. Mom's eyes got shiny immediately, like on cue. Sweetheart, nobody's attacking you, she said in that soothing voice she used when I was 5. We're just hurt. We didn't raise you to count the days like we're guests at a hotel. Dad added, families don't put timelines on helping each other. And there it was. The moral framing. If I say yes, I'm good. If I say no, I'm bad. I said, I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to be realistic. Jenna leaned forward. Realistic is that you have space and they need it. We have a life, Maya said, and her voice cracked slightly on the word life. We didn't buy a house to become a retirement plan. The room went dead quiet. My mom whispered, retirement plan, like she was tasting poison. Dad's face hardened. Is that what you think we are? A burden? Maya looked like she wanted to take the sentence back, but also couldn't. I think this can't be open-ended. Dad's voice rose. We aren't asking to move in forever. Jenna cut in, fast. Yes, you are, and everyone knows it. She said it like she was helping them by saying the ugly truth out loud. Mom turned to Jenna sharply. Jenna, don't... But Jenna was on a roll now, eyes bright with a kind of righteous anger. They can't afford anything decent right now, she said. They're not going to find some magical condo in 6 weeks. And you two, she pointed her fork at me and Maya, you sit there in your nice house acting like they're strangers. I looked at my mom. Is that true? Do you have a plan? Mom blinked at me like I just betrayed her. We thought we could take it step by step. That's not a plan, Maya said quietly. Dad slammed his hand on the table, not full force, but enough to rattle the silverware. Watch your tone. I felt something snap in me. Not rage exactly, more like a wire finally breaking. Don't talk to my wife like that, I said. Dad stared at me. Your wife is calling your mother a burden. Maya flinched. I didn't, Jenna said. You basically did. Mom wiped at her eyes and her voice got small. I just don't understand. You used to be such a sweet boy. That sentence hit me harder than anything else because it rewrote my adulthood as a failure. I said, I'm still your son. I'm not a boy. I'm trying to have boundaries. Dad scoffed. Boundaries? That's what people say when they don't want to help. Jenna nodded dramatically. Therapy words. Maya's face went pale, and I could feel her pulling inward, like she was trying not to cry. She hates crying in front of people. It makes her feel cornered. I should have ended it there. I should have said, this isn't productive. We're leaving. Instead, I did what I always do when I'm afraid. I tried to fix it with logic. We can help you look, I said. We can even help financially with a deposit if needed. But we can't have 4 adults living in our house indefinitely. It will damage our marriage. Mom's eyes widened like I'd said a dirty word. Marriage. Dad said, if your marriage can't handle helping your parents, what kind of marriage is it? Maya made a sound, half laugh, half gasp. Are you serious? Jenna said, some people actually value family. And that's when I said the thing that made everything explode. I said, I am valuing family. I'm valuing the family I'm building with Maya. Silence again. Thick, heavy, offended silence. My mom's mouth trembled. So we're not family anymore. That's not what I said. But Dad stood up, chair scraping the floor, and said, you made your choice. Maya stood too, quietly. She picked up her purse like she'd been waiting. I heard my own voice from somewhere far away say, okay. We walked out to the car. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline, grief, anger that had nowhere clean to go. In the driveway, I could hear my mom sobbing through the open kitchen window. Maya got in the passenger seat and stared straight ahead, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. I started the car, and my phone buzzed immediately. A group chat message. From Mom. I can't believe this is happening. Then Jenna. Congrats. You broke Mom's heart. Then Dad. Don't bother coming around until you remember what family means. Maya looked at my screen and said, very softly, "This is exactly what I was afraid of." And I hated that she was right. For the next week, I felt like I was walking around with an exposed nerve. At work, I'd open an email and realize I hadn't actually read a single word. I'd catch myself staring at nothing, replaying the dinner like it was footage I could edit if I watched it enough times. I kept thinking about the way my mom said, "You used to be such a sweet boy." Like sweetness was compliance, like love was measured in how much you gave up. Maya and I didn't fight exactly, but we moved around each other carefully, like we were both carrying something fragile. One night, she said, "I don't want you to lose your family because of me." I said, it's not because of you." And she looked at me with this tired sadness and said, "Then why does it feel like they're punishing you for choosing me?" I didn't have an answer. Jenna didn't text me for days. My mom sent one message: "I'm sick over this." I didn't sleep at all. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to respond with something soothing, something that would make her feel better and make the guilt stop gnawing. Instead, I showed Maya, and she said, "That's not an update, that's a hook." I hated that too, because it was true. A few days later, my dad called. I answered because I always answer. Conditioning is a hell of a drug. He didn't say hello. He said, "Your mother has been crying every day." "I'm sorry," I said, and it came out automatic. Dad said, "Are you?" "Yes," I said, but then I added because I was tired of swallowing my own reality. "I'm sorry she's hurting. I'm not sorry that I said we can't do open-ended." Dad's voice got colder. "You're letting your wife control you." That phrase hit like a slap. It was the oldest insult in the book, the one men use when they don't understand partnership. I said, "Maya isn't controlling me. We're making decisions together." Dad laughed once, short and bitter. "Sure?" Then he said, "Your mom and I are going to stay with Jenna." I blinked. "Jenna's apartment is tiny." "It'll be fine," he said. "At least she wants us." And then he hung up. I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand, and this sick part of me felt relief, because the immediate threat, the invasion of our home, was gone. And then the relief turned into shame. I told Maya, and she looked relieved too, and then she also looked ashamed, like we were both thinking the same thing. Thank God it's not us. That was the gut punch, honestly. Realizing how quickly compassion gets tangled with self-preservation, and how ugly it feels to admit that. A week after that, we got invited, again, to Sunday dinner. Not at my parents' house, at Jenna's. The invite came as a group chat message from Jenna. "Dinner Sunday. We need to talk like adults." Maya read it and said, "Do we?" But I felt this pull. Not hope, exactly. More like unfinished business. We went. Jenna's apartment is a second-floor walk-up with thin walls and a hallway that always smells faintly like someone else's laundry. When we walked in, my parents were already there, sitting on Jenna's couch like it belonged to them. Dad had his arms crossed. Mom looked tired in a way that wasn't just lack of sleep. It was like her face had rearranged itself around sadness. Jenna had made spaghetti. It was fine. It wasn't about the food. We sat at the small dining table, knees nearly touching. The closeness felt intentional, like we couldn't escape. Jenna started. "Okay," she said, taking charge like she always does. "We're all hurt. Everyone feels attacked. But here's reality. Mom and Dad can't stay where they are, and they can't afford a place on their own right now." I looked at my parents. "You can't?" Mom's eyes flicked away. Dad said, "Not comfortably." There was a difference, but nobody acknowledged it. Jenna continued. "So they're staying with me." Maya said carefully, "For how long?" Jenna shrugged. "However long it takes?" I felt my stomach twist. "Jenna," she snapped, "don't. Don't you dare Jenna me like you're the responsible one. You have a house." Maya said, "Having a house doesn't mean having unlimited capacity." Mom's eyes filled again. I don't want to be the reason you two fight. Maya softened a little. You're not. We're not fighting. Dad scoffed. We've seen marriages like yours, he said, gesturing vaguely, where the spouse gets between the family. Maya's face tightened. I'm not between you. I'm next to him. I heard myself say, quietly but firmly, enough. Everyone looked at me. I said, this whole thing is being framed like I'm refusing to help. I offered 6 weeks. I offered financial help. What you want is for me to say yes to whatever you decide, indefinitely, without question. Jenna said, because that's what family does. I looked at her. No, that's what enmeshment does. That's what guilt does. Jenna rolled her eyes. Therapy words again. Mom whispered, stop. But I couldn't stop. Something had finally risen to the surface. I said, you all keep talking about what I owe you. You raised me, so I owe you. I have more, so I owe you. I'm sweet when I comply, and I'm changed when I don't. Mom flinched like I'd slapped her. Dad's jaw clenched. So, we're bad parents now. I didn't say that, I said. I'm saying I'm not going to be manipulated. Jenna laughed sharply. Manipulated? Mom is literally crying. Maya said very quietly. Crying isn't always manipulation. Sometimes it's a reaction, but it can still be used. Jenna stared at Maya like she'd just declared war. Mom stood up abruptly. I can't do this, she said, voice breaking. I can't sit here and listen to my own son talk about me like I'm some tactic. Dad stood too. We're done here. And Jenna did something I didn't expect. She didn't comfort them. She turned on me fully, like her fear had found a target. She said, do you know what it's like watching them age? Watching them get scared? You get to build your perfect little life while I'm the one who has to deal with reality. I stared at her. I've dealt with reality. I've helped you. I've helped them. Jenna's voice got loud. Not enough. The apartment felt smaller, the air hotter. Maya stood. We're leaving. Mom looked at Maya and said with a trembling rage I'd never heard from her, Of course you are. That sentence wasn't just about leaving dinner. It was about leaving the family. And maybe that's what broke me. I said, Mom, stop. She looked at me like she didn't recognize my face. I said, if you keep making Maya the villain, you're going to lose me. Not because she's taking me away, because I will choose distance over this. Silence. Then Dad said coldly, fine. And Mom sank back into her chair, like all her energy had leaked out. We left. In the car, Maya didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, she said, I feel like I just watched you mourn something. I swallowed hard because that was exactly it. At home, I sat on the edge of our bed and stared at the wall like it had answers. Maya put a hand on my shoulder. Gentle. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but it felt stuck. The next morning, I sent a message in the family group chat. I wrote, I love you. I'm not abandoning you. But I'm done with the guilt and the insults. Maya is my family. She is not the enemy. I'm willing to help financially, within reason. I'm willing to come over and help you look at options. I'm not willing to have anyone move into our house indefinitely. If that means you need space from me, I understand. But I'm not arguing about it anymore. I stared at it for a full minute before hitting send. Jenna replied almost immediately. Wow. Dad replied, noted. My mom didn't reply at all. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, my parents haven't called. Jenna has posted vague Facebook statuses about finding out who really shows up. Maya's been quiet, like she's trying not to influence me, even though she shouldn't have to. I find myself reaching for my phone at weird times, like when I pass a bakery my mom likes, or when I see a meme Jenna would laugh at, then stopping because I don't know what version of them I'll get. The part that hurts the most is how quickly the love turned conditional. I always thought my role in the family was the steady one, the helper, the peacemaker, the one who would eventually be thanked in some meaningful way. But I'm starting to realize the stability I provided wasn't seen as a gift. It was seen as a resource. And resources are expected, not appreciated. Maya asked me last night, "Do you regret buying the house?" And I said no immediately. Then I paused and I said, "I regret that it revealed what my family thinks they're entitled to. I don't know what happens next. Maybe time smooths it out. Maybe my mom texts me one day like nothing happened because that's her coping mechanism. Maybe dad never admits he was wrong. Maybe Jenna and I become the kind of siblings who only talk at funerals. Right now, I'm sitting in my own living room, in my own house, and it feels both safe and strangely lonely. And I keep thinking about that line my mom said, 'You used to be such a sweet boy,' and realizing what she meant was, 'You used to be easier to use.' I don't think I can go back to being that."